So exceedingly, a lot of people want to stay anonymous, and most of the advice online is in one direction, which is to erase yourself from the internet. The kind of things that they recommend is usually ad blockers, VPNs, deleting your accounts, disappearing, meaning erasing your footprint from the internet. People like us, people like me, right, who are content creators, who are always facing the camera, that kind of thing is not possible. And I think this attitude of disappearing or erasing or deleting yourself because of them is somewhere flawed, and somewhere it sounds very negative. You're getting scared, you're running away. I think the strategy should be opposite, where you're giving it back. They want one ID, you're throwing 10 IDs at them. And the point I'm trying to make is don't confuse them deliberately, but do so legally. And when you establish a lot of IDs, a lot of presences, a lot of addresses, a lot of holdings, a lot of diversification, a lot of footprints, right? Not just one footprint, a lot of footprints. Entities want to know your address, right? Once they know your address, in their mind, they think, okay, once I know his location or her location, then everything related to this person is going to be in that jurisdiction. And that is exactly what you want to target. You want to target that expectation of having everything located in that surrounding. So yes, you want them to think like that, absolutely. So give them the address legally, give them the impression that yes, that's where they're going to look for you, but you have your own strategy to counter that. And how do you establish that? Now, in order to establish a presence in any country legally, you want to have access to that jurisdiction. You want to have combinations of passports that you can get, and any passport, any nationality is very valuable. So you want to collect as many nationalities as possible. Again, I mean, we are not talking about sanctioned nationalities and problematic nationalities, but the reasonably clear nationalities, even if they are poor passports, is fine. A lot of people who are searching basic necessities and not luxuries in life think how strong the passport is. But we are not talking about that scenario. We are over the basic necessities and we are into the luxury territory, where you want to have the luxury of multiple IDs and multiple passports. Now, once you have a passport, you want to establish as many residencies as possible. Now, residencies are the easier ones, especially the paper residencies, the low-hanging fruits. You want to attach that residency across several passports. So whichever passport has easier visa free to a particular residency jurisdiction, you want to tag that residency on that passport. That way you want to have at least a couple of passports or 3 passports minimum, and then you want to have several residencies tagged to those passports. Now in this video I'm going to discuss 5 residency / passport combinations, which are IDs, legal IDs, which you should absolutely add to your portfolio. And none of this is legal, immigration, tax, or finance advice. You always should consult with a licensed professional, and alternatively, you can always click the link, book a call. We can have a quick chat and get you started with 1, 2, or all of these 5 options that I'm going to discuss later on in this video. Now, before I continue, I would like to ask you a small favor. It does not cost anything, but it truly helps this channel. If you feel that this channel adds value to your life, then please check your subscription. And if you aren't yet subscribed, please turn that on. Now let's deep dive. But let's discuss, how do you establish an address in the traditional sense? So historically, if someone wanted to establish an address, as you rent an apartment, cheap apartment, maybe it's $500 a month, maybe it's in sharing, whatever the case might be, then you want to use that address to update your IDs. Let's say it's a driver's license or whatever it is. Legally, I'm talking about a legal strategy in the olden days. And then I'm going to discuss a new strategy where you establish this whole thing remotely. So there is an ID that helps you establish legally all these things sitting in the comfort of your home. So in the next 5 to 25 days, you can establish this whole thing. But let's first discuss a traditional method so you understand how the model works. So in the traditional example of an apartment where you have an address, and maybe it's not exclusive to you, maybe it's on a sharing basis, and you can't afford to have your mails dispatched to that location, then you're hiring a mailbox with that address. Your mailing address is different from your physical address. You're adding some diversification within that process. And let's say someone is coming to look for you and you have a legal presence, you have a legal foothold, and you are actually traveling across multiple jurisdictions. So legally, no one can say that you're not living there because, again, you're traveling. There is no law in this world that mandates that you have to live in the place of your residency physically throughout the year. You could be traveling throughout the year. There are a lot of content creators that always keep traveling. So yes, they can maintain a physical address which is legally acquired, legally obtained, legally declared. Let's say you have gone to another country and you're driving around, so no one can ask you to be at home in that country. You can absolutely be in a van, you could be on a yacht. A lot of crypto investors want to have their crypto assets located in one country. They're physically living in another country. Their banking might be situated in a couple of different countries. So let's say 50% diversification in country A. If that bank account is frozen, then half their money is in a different country, which is a more favorable jurisdiction. So the country where the transactions are faster, easier to execute, that jurisdiction could have, let's say, 10% of your holdings, and you can always keep transferring from one bank account to the other, where then your funds are easy to transact with or trade with or transfer from. Account A is a more fast paced transaction system. Let's say you're doing it in Germany, or you're doing it in the US, or you're doing it in any developed nation. So for faster banking, you have, let's say, 10% of your holdings in that account, and then you have the other money sitting in a safe jurisdiction. Maybe it's not the fastest banking system, but it's a safe banking system. It's a zero tax country. It's a favorable tax system that is protected, so you can always keep transferring your funds. But this way, what you've done is you have completely diversified your cash. Even if those Western countries have access to banking system A and they terminate that, you have only lost access to 10% of your assets, but you still have the 90% of your assets distributed across safer banking jurisdictions. Now, what are the countries where you can establish all these IDs and residencies legally? Now, I promise you, I'm going to discuss a country where you can directly strike a permanent residency or a direct passport lightning fast, sitting in your couch without moving anywhere, without even visiting the country. As part of that same package, you can add a residency, a physical, real address. This is no funky stuff. This is absolutely a real physical address of a land. You can add a electric meter, so you're going to have a legal utility bill in that country over that land. You can add a phone bill. It could be a cell phone, a local cell phone service. So you have a phone service, you have electricity, you have land. So it's all legally acquired without moving at all. This does not mean that you don't have to comply with your home country requirements. So each of these 4 or 5 countries, you got to satisfy them separately as long as you're complying and keeping things legal. Of course, in this country that I'm going to mention, you can strike all these things remotely because it's perfectly legal for this country to issue you with all these services. Now, let me discuss what are the different options. These are the must-haves in every portfolio in 2026. The first one that everyone, I feel, absolutely needs to check out in 2026 is the Uruguay direct permanent residency. Safe country, beautiful country, friendly country, easy country to live in, and more importantly, an easy country to establish your crypto accounts, your tax base. It has a tax holiday for 10 years. You can definitely benefit from that. You can have access to a rich banking system in Uruguay. So it has several use cases that it can satisfy. The idea here is to first acquire the permanent residency and at least start using it for one purpose. Maybe it's crypto, maybe it's banking, maybe it's physical stay. Whatever the case is, you want to diversify one item in this country. But before that, you want to strike the permanent residency. We have a specialized team in this country that takes care of multiple things that you might be looking for. But first and foremost, the permanent residency can be acquired in just 3 days. You land in Montevideo and our team is ready and prepared with your entire documentation even before you land. And then you're not running around. You're simply focusing on your matter. In 3 days, you're out of the country. You've struck one option. The second option that goes along with this, a lot of people will waste their time going and applying for Paraguay with a service provider, but with us, we combine the two. So with the same set of documentation, you're optimizing your trip, you're landing in Montevideo, you're getting your permanent residency from there, and then you're simply headed to Asuncion in Paraguay, and we complete your procedure there. You get the residency from there. So you have struck 2 birds with 1 stone. And then the other ones that are very powerful, that are a must-have in Latin America, you should definitely look at Mexico. If you have the right income, you can either do the TR or PR directly in Mexico, and we specialize in both. The second option that you could definitely definitely look at is Panama. It does have the option to get a travel passport in 2 weeks. So if you want to diversify your travel history, those stamps that you get on the passport, you can definitely look at Panama, or you can simply get a permanent residency, a dateless, lifelong permanent residency from Panama. So these are the 4 jurisdictions right here that anyone can strike, and they all are paper residencies. So you don't even have to physically be there in these countries. The 2 options that are an absolute must-have in Africa are South Africa and Mauritius from a residency perspective. And if you're looking to add a passport to tag these residencies, you have 4 options here. One is Sierra Leone. The second one is Sao Tome and Principe. Those are the CBIs. And there are a couple of CBEs in Africa, or CBMs, the way you want to call it. And again, the country names for CBM cannot be directly disclosed. In some cases, those countries don't appreciate it, but we have specialized teams that work with the required authorities where we can strike this for you. So that's Africa. And then I would definitely want to add one country or 1 or 2 countries in Europe, 1 EU country, and preferably 1 non-EU country. For non-EU country, there are 3 options, and all 3 citizenships can be struck lightning fast. You have Albania CBM, you have Georgia CBM, and you also have the Serbia CBE, citizenship by exception. Although in case of Serbia, I'll be particularly very skeptical. You want to make sure you're dealing with the right provider. Some providers have a backdoor way of getting this. Those are not legal citizenships. You want to make sure your citizenship is 100% legal and your money is gone to the right entity. It should be reflected on the government project. If it is not going to the government, if it is going to in bribes, then your citizenship could be illegal. It could be terminated. So you want to be careful with Serbia. Turkey, I would not recommend. It's become an unstable option in 2026. Yes, in 2024, this was a good option on the days when this was 250K in a real estate, or the bank fixed deposit was protected. At that time, Turkey was an okayish option, but today I think this has become one of the most unstable or unreliable CBIs in my opinion. And again, as I said, this is not immigration advice. This is just my personal opinion. So I'm going to definitely avoid Turkey in 2026. And then for an EU option, if I have the funds, I'll go for a direct CBM in Malta. They have a citizenship by merit program now. They just converted from a CBI to a CBM to keep it more private, to keep it easier on the investor. And let's say funds is an issue, then I would clearly go with Portugal. We do partner with one of the biggest developers in Portugal where you can strike the golden visa. It's a paper path to the same EU nationality that you're looking for. And there's a big reason why this has shot up or skyrocketed in 2026. And if you have missed that reason, then definitely return and take a look at this video. I've covered this in a lot of detail. And these are just some options. There are a lot more examples that you can add around the world where you can create rich IDs. And I'm not saying you want to confuse the hell out of them, but you want to legally acquire these IDs to protect yourself. So if draconian regimes are going to come looking for you, good luck to them. Good luck to them finding you. You are solidified, you're protected, you have increased your opportunities, you have created several footprints legally. So you're protected, your family is protected. Now, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and catch you in the next one.